Cheating wife follows friend's deceptive advice to pursue an affair, leading to divorce and betrayal. Two attractive women were dining on the restaurant's terrace, catching the eyes of passing men, but they were engrossed in conversation and paid them no mind. "How long has it been?" Melanie inquired of her tall, dark-haired companion. "Feels like ages since I last saw you." The other woman, a blonde a couple of years younger, replied, "I know, Mel. I've been swamped with grad school and family stuff. Hardly had time for anything else." "How's business school treating you? You must be close to snagging that MBA." "Yeah, almost there. Spring breaks next week, then just a few more weeks till graduation. Thesis is turned in, so no worries there. Plus, looks like I'm skipping all exams. Smooth sailing ahead then." "Fantastic, Mel. Thanks. Got a job lined up yet?" "Nah, thinking of taking a breather after the craziness of the last 2 years. Want to unwind a bit before diving into the workforce. But enough about me. How about you? Any special man in your life?" "Doing okay? Still on the hunt for Mr. Right?" The blonde gave her brunette friend an assessing look. "With your looks, you could have a date every night if you wanted." Melanie smirked. "Trust me, living the single life isn't all it's cracked up to be nowadays. Wading through a sea of idiots just to find one decent guy gets old fast." "I envy you, though. Happily married to a great guy like Adam." "Speaking of whom, how's your dashing husband doing?" "He's all right, I suppose." "Wait, did I just hear a hint of discontent?" "What's up, Mel? Things not all rosy in your world?" The blonde shook her head. "Not exactly trouble, just Adam's been swamped with work lately. Hardly any time for us. And when we do, our entertainment budget's tighter than ever while he dedicates all his time to building his company." "For both of you? And grad school? Well, it's probably not cheap. I get it, and I'm grateful, but sometimes I just miss the carefree fun of school. Everyone talks about parties and bar meetups, and here I am stuck at home watching TV reruns." Her dark-haired friend gave her a knowing look. Any specific person at school you're itching to party with?" Melanie chuckled. "You always see right through me." Leaning in to avoid being overheard, she confessed, "Actually, there's this freshman, Carl. He's really sweet," she blushed, "and he's definitely into me. Whenever we're together, he always compliments how good I look and how well I'm doing in school." Gary shook her head. "I don't think Adam would be thrilled about this. It's just innocent flirting, nothing serious. But you're right, Adam wouldn't approve. That's why I won't tell him." She shifted uncomfortably. "But I can't help but miss the freedom of my single days. It was so exciting meeting different guys, I miss it. Be careful, okay? You got a great husband. Don't risk losing him. Adam won't take kindly to any fooling around, and if he ever found out, plenty of women would be lining up to console him. I know. I want to spend my life with him, start a family. I just wanted a bit of fun before things got too serious." Lowering her voice, she leaned closer again. "Speaking of Carl, he asked me to go to Florida with him for spring break. If I could guarantee Adam wouldn't find out, I'd consider it." She laughed it off. "But it's just a fantasy. It could never happen." Gary sat down, contemplating Melanie for a moment. Finally, she nodded as if she had a plan. "Don't be so sure. I've got an idea how you could pull it off." Melanie sighed, a mix of disbelief and excitement. "Are you serious? You'd risk your marriage for a fling?" "If I could be certain Adam wouldn't know, maybe." "But you're just teasing me, Gary. There's no way I could get away with it." "Yes, and it's actually pretty straightforward." Gary began to outline each step with her fingers. "First, you make a new Gmail account under a fake name like Good Friend. Then you use it to send Adam an anonymous message warning him about his wife's supposed affair." "Wait, do I admit to having an affair? This sounds insane. Why would you do that?" Gary kept her tone even. "More like you'd suggest Melanie's cheating with someone Adam doesn't know and can't easily check." "And what's the point? It'll just make Adam suspicious of me." "Exactly. But when he can't find the mystery guy, he'll have to confront you, demanding answers. But I don't want him to doubt me." "No, you don't. So when he confronts you, you act furious, accusing him of mistrust. You'll be so upset that you'll want a break from the marriage. Doesn't your mom live in Florida?" Melanie was caught off guard by the sudden turn. "Yes, why?" "Oh, I see. You tell Adam angrily that you're going to Florida to sort things out with your mom. Then, while he's here frantically searching for the phantom lover, you're in Florida with Carl having your own little fling. How do I explain this to my mom?" Gary rolled her eyes. "You don't. In fact, you don't even see her while you're there. But what if Adam calls her?" "Tell him not to. Make it clear you need space to sort things out. Warn him not to contact you or your mom while you're away. Tell him if he does, you might not come back." Melanie pondered her friend's plan for a moment, then her face lit up. You know, Gary, I can see this working. But what about when I come back? It's easy. By then, Adam will miss you like crazy, and since he can't find the mystery man, he'll realize it's all a hoax. He'll feel guilty and beg for forgiveness. You'll forgive him, and things will be back to normal. You'll have some fun, and you and Adam will be closer than ever. What about the guy I'm supposed to be seeing? Maybe I should just make up a name for him. You could, but it'll be more believable if he's real. Pick someone totally off limits, like an old guy or someone far away or even deceased. That way, if Adam tries to find him, you're in the clear. Hey, I think I've got it. There was this creepy professor back in my first year of grad school. He must have vanished because I never saw him again. How does that sound? Perfect. Melanie reached across the table, squeezing her friend's hand. You're amazing, Gary. I'm so pumped. I really think this is going to work. She hugged herself, trembling with anticipation. I can't wait to tell Carl. Adam returned to his office, sinking into his worn swivel chair. He rubbed his forehead, anxiety clouding his thoughts. If those parts don't arrive soon, we'll miss the prototype deadline. After the foreman left, Adam pondered a backup plan. His email chimed and he eagerly checked his inbox, hoping for good news. But the subject line regarding your wife nearly made him delete the message. Curiosity won, and he opened it. I'm sorry to say, but Melanie's involved with Professor Bellingham. Thought you should know, friend. What in the world? Stunned, Adam read the message again, struggling to believe it. This can't be right. Melanie wouldn't do this. Someone's trying to stir up trouble. But who and why? He almost deleted it but paused. I can't ignore this. It's probably a mistake, but I have to know. Angrily, he hit reply. Who are you? Why make such an accusation? What evidence do you have? He fired off the message, staring at the screen in frustration. This won't get me anywhere. No way to trace this person or when they'll reply. I need to find out about this Bellingham. He scoured the university's site, but found no mention of the professor. Frustrated, he widened his search to other schools nearby, but came up empty-handed. This is maddening, he muttered, feeling powerless. Did my buddy just invent a name? He Googled it, but the results included 2 females, none local. I knew it was fake. Someone's pulling a prank or trying to drive me nuts. Yet he couldn't bring himself to delete the letter. Now that it was sent, doubt gnawed at him. What if she's cheating? I didn't see any signs, but that doesn't mean much. I've been swamped at work, barely spending time with her. Maybe she's upset because I've been neglecting her. I remember turning down her fun ideas sometimes, but dang, I'm putting in nearly hours a week for the business. Doesn't she get it? Can't she see it's for us? And we can't afford extravagance, her tuition's skyrocketing, and I'm pouring money into the business. Yet maybe I neglected her. Feeling guilty, he checked his calendar, finding no recent meetups. Damn. But guilt turned to anger. I may not have given Melanie all she wanted, but that doesn't justify cheating. We discussed sacrifices for the business. She agreed then, so she can't complain now. His thoughts were interrupted by the foreman's arrival. Hey Adam, great news. The parts we needed just arrived. Thank goodness. All right, we need to unpack them and get them to the workshop as soon as possible. After the foreman left, Adam took a deep breath. Well, at least one crisis is avoided, he smirked. Guess I can devote more time to my wife. After more futile internet searching, he leaned back, contemplating. If Mel's really having an affair, it must be someone from the university. Maybe my buddy got the name wrong, or perhaps the university didn't list him. He found the HR phone number. When the secretary answered, he inquired about Professor Bellingham. Which department? I think it's the business school, but not sure. After a pause, she apologized. No Bellingham in the business school. Other departments? Another sigh. Please hold. This time the wait was longer. When she returned, her tone was curt. No Professor Bellingham here. A thought struck him. Maybe he left a year or 2 ago. I can only confirm current staff. University policy, sir. Anything else? No, you tried, he said, holding back sarcasm. He tried the business school dean but got nowhere. By now his head throbbed. Need a drink, he muttered, hanging up. Then he called Gary. Hey, can we meet at Macy's after work? I need advice. No, can't talk about it now. Okay, see you at 6. At Macy's, Adam found Gary at a quiet table with wine and beer. He kissed her on the cheek. Thanks for the beer, and more importantly, for coming. As they sat, Gary studied him. All right, Adam, spill. Business trouble? Unsure where to start, Adam hesitated. Do you know a Professor Bellingham? Gary shook her head. Bellingham. Never heard of him. He sighed and handed her a printout of the email. I got this today, he said. She swiftly perused it, sighed, then read it again. Poor Adam, she said sympathetically. No wonder you didn't want to discuss it over the phone. What are your thoughts? I'm torn, Jerry, he replied. Can't fathom it's true, but can't ignore it either. I spent the day trying to find this elusive Bellingham at the university, but hit a dead end. Now I'm lost. Can't afford a detective, no time for sleuthing. That's why I turned to you. You've been a steadfast friend to Melanie and me. What's your take? She took another sip of wine, then gave his hand a quick squeeze. Essentially, you're asking if I think she's having an affair. I can't provide absolute certainty. On one hand, I haven't noticed anything to suggest she's unfaithful. On the other hand, I haven't seen much of her lately. His annoyance flashed, and she hastened to continue. You're aware that some people thrive on stirring trouble. Or perhaps you have business rivals who seek to distract. There may be other possibilities I haven't considered. What's clear is you can't ignore it and hope it vanishes. I know how strongly you value marital fidelity, and any suggestion of a rift in your marriage will gnaw at you. If left unaddressed, doubt will corrode your relationship with Melanie as effectively as infidelity, she said. I understand your dilemma, Gary, but what's the solution? I believe you should show this to her. She deserves to know she's been accused of infidelity and should have the chance to explain. After all, Adam, if someone accused you, wouldn't you want to know? He sat silently, then nodded. You're right. Keeping this from Melanie will affect our relationship. Ultimately, it could drive us apart as surely as if she had truly betrayed me, he said. He rose and embraced her. Thanks for helping me sort through this, Gary. I don't know what I'd do without you. You both mean the world to me, Adam, and if there's anything I can do, just say the word. He nodded gratefully and headed for the door as she watched him go. When he arrived home, Melanie was already there, waiting for him. Where have you been, Adam? I tried to call you, but you didn't answer, she questioned. Ignoring her query, he grabbed her hand and guided her to the couch. Sitting next to her, I need to show you something, Mel, something that's really confused me, he explained. As she sat down next to him, she appeared anxious while he handed her the printout. I received this email today. Can you make sense of it? She quickly read it. Then to his shock, she stood up and began shouting, Do you think I'm cheating on you? I can't believe this. You hear one accusation from someone anonymous, and suddenly I'm accused of cheating? No, darling, I'm not blaming you for anything. If you're not blaming me, then why did you show me this nonsense? She grabbed the printout, crumpled it, and threw it at him. You might as well stab me in the heart. This deeply wounds me. You trust someone too scared to even sign their name over me, your wife, she declared, grabbing her bag and heading toward the door. I can't even face you right now. I'm leaving, and I don't know when I'll return. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Oh damn, I didn't see this coming. Now things are even worse, he moaned, sinking back into the couch and burying his face in his hands. As he sat there, Adam's initial thoughts were defensive. Why was she so upset? She didn't even let me explain. I didn't accuse her of cheating, I just showed her what someone else claimed, that's all. But he realized the truth before he finished. If Mel had shown me that note, I probably would have lost it too. But what could I do? Pretend everything was okay? Jerry was right, I can't just dismiss the letter. It wouldn't be fair to Mel or to me. Even though he spent the rest of the night pondering the issue, he was no closer to deciding what to do than when he began. He knew he and Mel needed to talk, but he couldn't even decide what to say to her. All he knew for certain was that he wanted to bring his wife home, to try to repair the relationship. Emotionally drained, Adam was determined to stay awake until Melanie returned. However, after another hour of waiting, exhaustion overtook him, and he drifted off to sleep on the sofa. Sometime past midnight, the sound of the door opening jolted him awake. As he stood up, Melanie entered the living room and fixed him with a stern look, hands on her hips. Mel, we really need, she cut him off sharply. I don't want to talk about this now, she said, her tone final. You can spend the night on the couch, and we'll discuss it in the morning. Without waiting for a response, she turned and marched down the hallway to their bedroom. Hearing the door slam shut, he groaned and settled back on the couch, hoping sleep would claim him again. It took a while. Adam usually rose early for work, but he felt compelled to wait until Melanie appeared so they could talk. Brewing coffee, he sat at his laptop, skimming the news. Nearly 8, Melanie entered the kitchen, dragging a suitcase behind her, shocking Adam. Where are you going, Melanie? I thought we were. She raised her hand, cutting him off. It's a shock, Adam. This shakes our whole marriage. I need time alone to process. Spring break starts tomorrow, and I'm going to Florida to visit my mom. I'll be gone all week, returning next Monday for classes. During my absence, I don't want to hear from you. No calls to me or my mom. Got it? He nodded, feeling helpless. I'm serious, Adam. If you try to reach out, I might not come back. Understood. Another nod. Okay, she said and left, dragging her suitcase to her car. Stunned, Adam sat for minutes before dragging himself to shave and change, then drove to work with a heavy heart. Upon arriving, good news awaited him. His foreman efficiently distributed the missing components, and testing proceeded without issue. At least the business won't crash today, Adam muttered bitterly to himself. Unlike my marriage. In the afternoon, while working on a spreadsheet, he received a call from Gary. I was worried and wanted to know how you were doing. How did it go last night with Melanie? Oh well, it's a long, sad story, he said, feeling dejected. Oh, that doesn't sound very good. Maybe we can get together to discuss this again over a drink. That would be great, Gary. Same place? Okay. Before leaving, he checked his email again, but there was still nothing from good friend. At the bar, Gary saw the dark circles under Adam's eyes right away. Adam, looks like you didn't sleep much last night. What happened? Taking a big sip from his beer, Adam talked about the fight with Melanie and her leaving the next day. Gary looked at him with sadness and guilt. Oh, Adam, I feel awful. You listened to me and it turned out all wrong. No, Gary. I thought about it a lot, and I believe it was the only choice. I didn't expect Mel to react so strongly, but I couldn't hide the letter and act like nothing happened. Now I hope she'll calm down and we can talk when she's back. You say that nicely, Adam, but I still feel bad. So what's your plan for the week? I'm not sure, Gary. If Mel and I don't talk, I don't see how we can move forward. Maybe I'll wait a bit and then call her. No, Adam, that's the last thing you should do. She already feels like you don't trust her. If you call after she told you not to, it'll prove her right. Yeah, I get it, but I feel so useless. I don't know how to find out who sent the letter while she's away. I'll keep trying to find this Professor Bellingham. That sounds smart. Maybe he can help fill in some gaps. Over the next days, Adam kept trying to solve the letter mystery. Despite no luck, he was sure Bellingham had ties to the university. Then he had an idea. Maybe I can't find him because he's an alum, not a teacher. I'm an alum too, so maybe the alumni office can help. When Adam called and said he was a former student, he got transferred to the development department quickly. The person he talked to wrote down Adam's info and asked if he wanted to give money to the school. Adam said no. He was looking for Professor Bellingham, thinking he might be a former student. The person checked but couldn't find anyone by that name in their records. Adam suggested maybe Bellingham didn't finish school, but the person couldn't help since their records only had graduates. Adam hung up frustrated, thinking he just guaranteed he'd be asked for money later. The next day, Adam went to the business school during spring break to look for Bellingham. Even though it was break, he asked around but eventually got asked to leave by the assistant dean. Back at his office, feeling defeated, Adam wondered what to do next. Then his phone rang. It was Dr. Avery Mayfair from the business school faculty, who heard him earlier and wanted to help. Mayfair said Bellingham used to teach part-time there, but his class got canceled because not many students enrolled. Adam thanked him. There's more, Dr. Mayfair continued. At the start of this year, Bellingham told me he got a job at Black Hills State University in South Dakota. Really? Adam asked, surprised. Yes, the professor confirmed. And there's something else. In the same message, he said he recently married his partner, Harold. Harold. So Bellingham. Exactly, Dr. Mayfair said. Thank you for calling, Dr. Mayfair, Adam said gratefully. I still don't get why someone sent me that nasty letter, but now I know it was a lie. Can I ask why you called me? I'm grateful, but we don't know each other, the professor asked. I don't mind telling you, he continued, his tone changing. Years ago, something similar happened to me. My wife left me for someone else, so I understand how you feel. Thankfully, this time it was just a false alarm, but if it were true, I'd have told you. Thanks, sir. I really appreciate what you did. That night, Adam called Gary to share the news. I still don't know who's trying to mess up my marriage, but I'm sure now Mel isn't with Professor Bellingham. Can you trust Dr. Mayfair? Gary asked. Definitely. I checked him out after our call. He's on the business school faculty. He seems respected and older, maybe around 60. I also looked up Bellingham on the Black Hills website. He's there too. That's good news, Adam. You must feel relieved. Yeah, I do. But now I'm not sure what to tell Mel when she comes back. It's simple, Adam. From what you said about your argument with her, she didn't give you a chance to explain. When she returns, tell her you never doubted her. Say you knew about Bellingham and found him as soon as you got the letter. But because she reacted strongly, you couldn't tell her. If you handle it right, she'll apologize to you. I'm not sure, Jerry. Things weren't exactly like that, Adam said uncertainly. Gary heard a smile in his voice. Come on, Adam. Is it really so bad to bend the truth a bit to get what you want? Before leaving town on Sunday, Melanie called Gary. "Hey, I just wanted to check on Adam before I come home. I'm nervous about what I'll find." "You owe me big for helping you while you were wrapped up in your affair. With some luck and my help, you'll reconcile with Adam, and your marriage will be better," Gary assured her. Melanie told him about her week, ending with Adam finding Bellingham. "If you handle it right, Adam will apologize, you'll apologize, and everything will be normal again." There was silence. "What if I don't want things to go back to normal?" Gary was confused. "What do you mean?" "Just last week you had an epiphany. Carl, the guy you're with, makes you laugh, and he's great in bed. You haven't felt this happy in years. You want to keep seeing him until the semester ends. Come on, Gary, you have to help me figure out a way to make this work." "Hold on, Melanie. You're already taking a big risk by going off with this guy for a week. If you try to keep the affair going here in town, you're really pushing your luck, girl." "Maybe, but you've got to admit your little scheme worked like a charm. I bet you can come up with a plan for me to do it again." "Come on, Jerry, please, this guy's really something." "I was afraid something like this might happen." There was a prolonged silence. "Okay," Jerry said slowly. "I can come up with a plan to get what you want, but you need to understand you're putting your marriage to Adam at risk. He's a good guy, Melanie. He's dedicated, faithful, and a real family man. Men like him don't come around every day. Are you sure you want to gamble it all for a bit of excitement in the bedroom?" Melanie chuckled. "You get me going with, 'I can.' Come up with a plan." "Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you. Now here's what you need to do. Do you still have that email account you set up?" "Of course. You told me to keep it active." "Good, because you need to send another letter from your supposed good friend, but this time send it to yourself, to your regular email." "Okay, but what should the new letter say?" "It's the same as the last one, but this time you'll write that Adam is having an affair with me." "What?" "But that's not true, and Adam knows it. How does this help?" "It's simple. The first letter accused you of infidelity. Adam found out you couldn't have cheated with Professor Bellingham, but he might still have doubts about your fidelity." "Wait, Gary, didn't you say a letter about Bellingham would give me leeway with Carl?" "That's right, but after he gets the second letter, he won't have doubts. He already knows you weren't involved with Bellingham, and he's sure he's not having an affair with me." Clearly, the so-called good friend is a liar. So Adam won't doubt you anymore. This means you can get away with almost anything without raising Adam's suspicions. There was silence on the line. Melanie then exclaimed, "Jerry, you're a genius. I don't know how you came up with this, but you just gave me a pass I can use for the rest of the semester." "There are two more things you need to do, Melanie. First, make sure Adam tells me about the second letter." "Okay, but why?" "Because then I can reinforce that you're trustworthy and this mystery friend isn't." "Ah, got it. He respects your opinion, so he'll listen to your advice. What else?" "After you send the message to yourself, remember to log out of your good friend email account. What if Adam stumbles upon it?" "Oh no, actually you should probably sign out of both your email accounts when you're not using them. You don't want Adam to find love notes from Carl, right? I've warned Carl never to email me, but that's still smart advice. Better safe than sorry." Returning home from work that evening, Adam was alarmed to find Melanie in tears. "What's wrong, Mel? What happened?" he asked, rushing to her. "Oh, Adam, it's happening again," she said, tears in her eyes, handing him a copy of the letter. "Damn it," he swore after reading the accusatory message. "You know that's not true, right?" "Of course I know. You'd never cheat on me, just as I'd never cheat on you. And even if you did, I know it wouldn't be with Gary. She's such a good friend to both of us that she'd never do anything like that. Damn it, someone's still trying to stir up trouble for us, and I have no idea who or why. There must be a way to trace these things." She looked up at him hesitantly. "Are you going to tell Gary about this? Do you think I should?" "I believe you should. Whether you like it or not, she's now involved. It wouldn't be fair to her if you didn't inform her about this." The next morning, when Adam called, Gary answered cheerfully, "Well, how are the lovebirds today?" Adam's tone was serious. "We're okay, Jerry, but there's something new I need to discuss with you. Can we meet after work?" "I actually plan to work from home after lunch. Can you come over?" "Sure." "Great. I'll stop by between 6:30 and 7. When Adam arrived at her apartment in the evening, Jerry immediately noticed his solemn expression. "What's wrong, Adam? I've been worried since you called." He shook his head. "I'm really sorry, Gary, but it seems you're now involved in this situation with Melanie and me." Confused, she looked at him. He handed her a copy of the latest letter. After reading it, she looked at Adam in despair. "But this is absurd. We're not having an affair. I would never do that to Melanie. I hope she knows that." He nodded. "She does. In fact, she said the same thing to me." Gary shook her head, puzzled. "That's a relief to hear. But what do you think all this means?" "I think someone is determined to cause trouble between Melanie and me." First a warning about the professor, now this. The only explanation I can think of is that I have an enemy, perhaps a business rival, but I have no idea who it could be. Anyway, since you're now involved, Mel and I decided you should be informed. I'm glad you did, Adam. You're always so considerate, but I'm not sure what we can do about it. Unless this mystery person does something obvious or slips up, involving the police might not help. I agree, Jerry, but it's frustrating. I'm tired of all this confusion, and I just want whoever it is to leave us alone. How is Melanie taking this? She's very upset. She was in tears when I got home. I'm not surprised, especially after the first ordeal. Look, Adam, I think Melanie is pretty fragile right now with all of this and nearing graduation. She's probably on edge. You need to take care of her as much as possible. Do you think we should block all emails from this account? That might be a mistake. If they send anything else, you'll want to know. You're right, but how can I protect Mel? Well, if you receive another letter, I wouldn't tell her immediately, if at all. You could monitor her email on your laptop whenever possible. If another letter comes, you can forward it to yourself before she sees it. That way you won't have to involve her. Yes, I think that's a good suggestion. He stood up. I'm truly sorry you got pulled into all of this. But if this is meant to be an apology, then I don't need one. You mean a lot to me, and I'll do whatever I can to assist. He smiled appreciatively. I should head home now to check on Melanie. Starting to leave, he paused, embraced Gary, and planted a kiss on her cheek. Thank you for being such a great friend. Your support throughout all of this means a great deal to me. Upon returning home, Adam was pleasantly surprised to find Melanie in much higher spirits. The following morning, she seemed even more cheerful and rose early to have breakfast with her husband. It's a rare treat to see you before I head off to work, Adam remarked. Well, I wanted to make sure I said I love you before you left this morning, she explained, planting a kiss on him. Oh, and by the way, she continued, I wanted to mention that I'll be attending a lecture on campus this evening. A few girlfriends and I are planning to grab a bite afterwards, so I might be home late. Sure thing, Mel. Everything's all right here. We've got plenty of leftovers in the fridge, so I can snack on those. Thanks, honey. If we miss each other, I'll probably swing by after class to drop off my things and change clothes. Have a great evening. Aware that Melanie wouldn't be home, Adam decided to stay at the office later than usual. Business was looking up, with a potential large client expressing interest in their new product samples. Things are starting to make sense now. I just need to get to the bottom of who's behind these email games with Mel and me, he pondered. He couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious good friend. As he walked into the house, heading toward the bedroom, he saw Melanie's laptop on the table. She probably didn't need it for the lecture, he thought. Then he remembered Gary's suggestion. I wonder if she still checks her email. If she does, then we need to see if she's received anything new from this idiot. He opened the laptop and saw that the email page wasn't open. Clicking on the Gmail link, a window popped up, asking him to choose an account. He saw Melanie's email, but she was logged out. So he started to close Gmail, but before he could, he noticed a second account named Good Friend. Shocked, he stared at it. Trying to open it, Google asked for a password. Without it, he closed the tab and slumped into his chair, trying to understand what he had found. Why does she have an email with that name? Gmail doesn't allow duplicate addresses, so Melanie must have sent those letters. But why? Why would she accuse herself of an affair? Then it hit him. It was a diversion. She wanted me to chase after some gay professor while she was with someone else. Another thought came to him. Her trip to Florida. When I confronted her, she acted mad, saying she needed space and was visiting her mother. But did she really? Quickly, he called his mother-in-law. After some small talk, he asked, Melanie and I were thinking of visiting next month. Would that be too soon? Not at all. It's been ages since I saw you. Please come whenever, she said sweetly. Gritting his teeth, he replied, Great, we'll be in touch. After hanging up, he cursed quietly. Melanie is so deceitful. Where did she go, and who was she with? Damn her. Then he recollected the last letter, the same one Melanie had received. What was the purpose of this? Damn it, it must be another distraction while she goes to lectures with her friends. What a despicable, lying woman. Curiosity gnawed at him, prompting him to investigate what she wore when she went out. He hurried to the bedroom and sifted through his wife's underwear. Despite struggling to remember every detail about Melanie, he almost gave up, but a sudden suspicion gripped him, leading him to double-check one particular item, a garter belt. It was missing. Frustrated, he searched for a suitable bra and underwear, only to find them gone as well. Out for dinner with her friends, huh? He replaced everything and returned to the kitchen table. So be it. You enjoy sabotage and deception? Well, two can play at this game. When Melanie got home after midnight, he was angry but pretended to sleep as she entered the bedroom. He held back from confronting her when he heard the shower, sarcastically thinking, who knew lectures would be so sweaty? The next morning, Adam got up very early and left for work before Melanie woke. He left a note by the coffee pot. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. I had an early meeting at work and might be late today, so don't wait up. Adam had a busy day, but not with work meetings. He did errands at lunch and came home with some purchases to get ready. Then he had 2 meetings in the afternoon. Later, he went out for dinner and a movie. Melanie was asleep when he got back to bed, trying not to disturb her. But when she woke up, Adam was waiting. I thought you left for work already, she said, taking the coffee he gave her. I wanted to see you before I leave. I have a flight to Detroit at noon. I'll be gone a few days. That's rare. When will you be back? Friday night, maybe Saturday morning if things go well. Can you manage while I'm gone? She smiled. I'll be fine. I'll keep busy. Good. Just stay away from our good friend while I'm gone. Her face fell. That's not funny, Adam. Sorry, you're right, it's not. He waved and left for the car. As he drove away, he frowned. She didn't even notice I didn't say I love you. She's probably making plans to meet her lover. I just need a diversion to keep her here. Instead of going to the airport at lunchtime, Adam left his office and made his way to the off-campus parking lot of the university. He briskly walked toward the Graduate School of Business, dressed down in jeans and a sweatshirt, with a cheap backpack slung over his shoulder. Without attracting attention, he headed to the reading room of the business school library. The few students present paid him no mind as he casually strolled behind the periodicals rack. Once out of sight, he produced a string of hefty firecrackers, lit the extra-long fuse, and tossed them into a metal disposal container. He casually strolled to the nearest door, using his backpack to prop it open, then exited. Outside, he retrieved the phone. He'd bought the previous day and dialed campus security. Quick, come over, there's firing at the business school, he exclaimed when they answered. I think there might be multiple shooters. It's ongoing. Pointing the phone towards the library, he triggered a series of fireworks seconds later. After disconnecting, he hurried across campus to his car amid blaring sirens and frantic people scattering in all directions. From his neighborhood vantage point, he watched an hour later as his wife's car pulled into their driveway, followed by another vehicle with a male figure stepping out. In times of danger, there's no place like home, Adam muttered with a bittersweet grin before driving to the motel where he'd booked a room. Later that night, he circled his neighborhood to ensure the second car remained parked in his driveway, then returned to his room to attempt sleep. The next morning, when the adulterous pair exited the house, they were shocked to find Adam leaning against the stranger's car door. Oh God, Carl, that's my husband, Melanie gasped upon recognizing him. I thought you were in Detroit, she stammered, then caught herself. Dear, things aren't as they seem. Carl just stopped by for a visit. Melanie, every time you speak, it's just lies. I don't want to hear it anymore, he growled. This isn't a one-time slip-up. You've been seeing him for weeks and it wasn't accidental. You planned it all. I know you sent that letter as a distraction, so you could spend spring break together, wherever you went. And by the way, your mom's wondering why you haven't visited. I guess you were too preoccupied with this garbage, he gestured at the sullen man, to bother seeing her. Turning to Melanie's lover, he swiftly snapped several pictures with his phone. When the man realized, he snarled, clenched his fists, and took a threatening step forward. Easy now, Adam warned, raising a hand, causing the man to back off. Adam turned to Melanie with a smirk. Seems your boyfriend's more lover than fighter. His tone hardened. Grab your things from the house and leave. Don't be here when I return, Mel. I meant it when I said I never want to see you again. Adam, please, she pleaded, collapsing onto the driveway in tears. He paid her no mind and headed to his car while she sat on the driveway, her hands covering her face as she wept. En route to his office, Adam made a stop at a dumpster, disposing of his phone and the toy weapon tucked in his pocket. Glad these things look so real, he grinned coldly. Back at his desk, Adam emailed one of the photos he had taken. Surprisingly, he received a call shortly after. This is Dr. Mayfair. Did you just send me a photo? Dr. Mayfair, forgive the intrusion again, but do you know the man in the photo? His name might be Carl. Is the woman beside him your wife? My ex-wife, to be precise. Lovely woman. I recall her being in one of my classes last year. As for the man, I recognize him. He's Carl Mannheim, one of my dissertation students. Carl Mannheim, good to know, doctor. I have some business to attend to with Mr. Mannheim. So he's the serpent in your Garden of Eden? In a manner of speaking. But my Eve wasn't exactly innocent. Ah, I see, quite intriguing. Well, I'm glad to have assisted you, though I'm sorry it's not the outcome you desired. Thank you, doctor. I appreciate your time and help, regardless of the outcome. Good luck to you, my boy, and keep your spirits up. Things have a way of working out, speaking from experience. 2 months later, Adam sat with his lawyer, feeling irked. Any word from Mel's lawyer? How's the divorce proceeding? Yes, I spoke with Hannah Montrose yesterday and she sent a counteroffer to Melanie today. The good news is, Mel's agreed not to contest the divorce. After hearing the recordings you made, Hannah persuaded her not to risk them in court. But the bad news is, now that Melanie's accepted the marriage is over, she's keen on getting as much financial compensation as possible. Damn, she deceives me, gets caught, and then expects me to pay up. It's unfair. What's my cheating wife after? Typically, we'd see request for dividing assets, but there's little to divide here. You rent, no pension, and minimal savings. Your only asset is your business share, which is running at a loss. Seems she's banking on it failing, so she's only asking for alimony. I appreciate her vote of confidence, Adam snapped sarcastically. So, how much alimony is she seeking? Considerably more than our offer. The lawyer handed him the document and Adam gasped. This is absurd. She knows I can't afford it. If I have to pay that much monthly, I'm essentially bankrupting my business to satisfy her. Melanie won't negotiate, so Hannah will suggest it to Judge Abernathy. I won't hand over that much without a fight. We'll take our chances in court. Understood, Adam, but remember, Judge Abernathy holds all the power. You're at his mercy. About a month later, Adam sat anxiously in court. After arguments from both sides, Judge Abernathy adjourned. Any thoughts on how it's going? Adam whispered to his lawyer. Hard to say. It could swing either way, or the judge might suggest a compromise. They stood as Judge Abernathy returned, then sat again as he called the opposing counsels to the bench. I assume your positions remain unchanged? The judge stated. The lawyers exchanged looks. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Before I decide, I'd like to question Mrs. Weatherby. Hannah Montrose looked tense but motioned for Melanie to approach. Stay calm, she whispered, and remember, address him as Your Honor. Adam's lawyer leaned in. Usually it's not good when the judge wants to hear more from the other side. Adam watched sourly as his soon-to-be ex-wife testified, noting the judge's attention on her. I think we're in trouble, he murmured to his lawyer. The judge reviewed papers, then turned to Melanie. Mrs. Weatherby, it seems the primary dispute is the alimony amount. Your offer is substantially higher than Mr. Weatherby's, correct? Yes, Your Honor. How do you justify your proposed amount? We're asking for more considering my years of marriage and the need to start anew, Your Honor. However, Mr. Weatherby claims his sole income is from his struggling business. Why do you believe Mr. Weatherby can afford your proposed support? We argue he's artificially deflating his income by investing in his business. Adjustments could easily cover the support I seek. The judge remarked, examining the financial statement. It shows negative cash flow, Your Honor. Adam's accountants can manipulate numbers to yield any desired result. The judge raised his eyebrows. Are you suggesting the financial statements are fraudulent? Melanie turned pale and shook her head firmly. Noticing this, Melanie swiftly corrected herself. No, Your Honor, not at all. Earnings can be deferred and investments accelerated, all within accepted accounting principles. He simply invests heavily in his company. Adam's blood pressure spiked. He whispered angrily, "What a manipulative move. She knows it's untrue. She's just trying to pressure me into giving her what she wants, regardless of the truth." Meanwhile, Judge Abernathy reviewed the case summary. Until now, we focused on your husband's business investments, Mrs. Weatherby. However, Mr. Weatherby has also invested significantly in you, or at least in your education. If you're referring to my MBA, Your Honor, Adam did pay for my tuition, but I worked diligently, completed all coursework, work exams, and wrote my dissertation. I've dedicated myself for the past 2 years, including summers. And you recently graduated? Yes, sir, with honors, she proudly confirmed. He nodded. Very well, Mrs. Weatherby, that's all. You may be seated. Returning to her lawyer, Melanie hugged her in relief as the judge adjusted his glasses and glanced at both parties. After reviewing all evidence, I'll grant Mrs. Weatherby the full financial support requested, the judge announced. Adam winced, and Melanie hugged her lawyer in joy. But the judge wasn't finished. This settlement provides for a comfortable living without employment for Mrs. Weatherby, despite her recent completion of a degree that should qualify her for a lucrative position. To incentivize the use of her education, I'm awarding alimony for 6 months only. 6 months? That's unfair, Melanie protested. I can, and I have, the judge replied, striking the gavel. Next case. Her lawyer swiftly escorted Melanie away, though she continued to protest until a bailiff intervened. Do I only have to pay alimony for 6 months? I can manage that, Adam remarked to his lawyer as they left the courtroom. Pretty good outcome, his lawyer agreed. I thought we were in trouble when the judge favored her, but he wasn't impressed with her tactics. Not many husbands fare so well in divorce court. Wonder what swayed him in my favor. You don't think her pleading no contest to the infidelity charge played a role? He shouldn't have considered it when deciding the financial settlement. Adam glanced back to see Melanie still arguing with her lawyer and chuckled. Well, whatever it is, I'm satisfied with the outcome. At that moment, a hand rested on his shoulder, and Adam turned to see an elderly man, vaguely familiar. I wanted to introduce myself, the gray-haired man explained. I'm Professor Mayfair. Adam firmly shook his hand. Professor, it's a pleasant surprise to meet you in person, sir. Thank you again for your assistance. What brought you to court today? The elderly man smiled. After our talk, I became curious about your case, so I decided to drop by and see how things turned out. His smile widened. It also gave me the chance to speak with an old friend of mine, Judge Abernathy. He shook Adam's hand again. I'm glad things worked out for you. If I can help in the future, I'd be glad to. He winked. Us divorced husbands need to stick together. As the professor left, Adam watched him go. Interesting, he muttered, then shook his head. Out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw Gary in the crowd, but she vanished when he looked. It took a while before she dialed a familiar number on her phone, and when it was answered, she hesitantly said, Hello, Jerry. It's me, Melanie. Melanie, what a surprise. Haven't heard from you since you moved to Florida. How are you? To be honest, it's been tough. That's why I called. I needed someone to talk to. Sure, tell me how you're doing. Are you working? That's part of the problem. I thought my MBA would land me a job, but employers here value experience more. Most offers I got were internships. Wow, that sounds tough. So where are you now? When alimony ended, I was desperate. Tried admin work, but it was terrible. Now I'm in financial advising. That's why I called. I can help analyze your finances if you're interested. Many overlook this. There was a brief pause. Oh, Melanie, I'd like to assist you, but my finances are stable right now and I'm pretty confident about the future. I don't think I need help. I understand. No worries, Jerry. I hear that often, but I thought I'd give it a shot. It's tough to break into this industry. In fact, I had to move back in with my mom to cut costs. Are you living with her now? What about you and Carl? Don't mention him. We split shortly after moving here. You broke up. What happened? It was awful. Carl dropped out of school. His thesis got rejected, and he refused to work. He became bitter and aggressive, so I had to involve the police. That sounds rough, Melanie, but now you're free. You can go out, meet new people, and have fun. Remember how much you missed that when you were married? Melanie sighed. But outings require money, Jerry, and I aren't well off right now. And going out isn't as glamorous or exciting as I thought. Actually, there are more creeps than good guys. Changing the subject, Melanie asked, How about you, Jerry? Anyone special? My life's taking a turn. I'm getting married next month. Married? That's incredible. Who's the lucky guy? You know him. It's Adam. Adam, are you engaged to my Adam? You can't do this. I already did. We'll have a small ceremony at our new home, then head to Paris for our honeymoon. New house? Honeymoon in Paris? Can Adam afford all that? Not only has my situation changed, but Adam's has too. The same month you moved to Florida, he landed a big order he'd been working on. After that, his business took off. His new product is in high demand in the auto industry. And there's more. Earlier this year, a large manufacturer made him an offer to buy his business for a fortune. He agreed, and the deal's closing next week. So you see, our financial future is secure. Melanie could barely speak, but Gary persisted, her tone now altered. You know, Melanie, all of this could have been yours if you were content with what you had. I warned you from the start about the risks of your affair, and I cautioned you that there would be other women ready to step in if your marriage crumbled. But you were the one who encouraged me. You even came up with the plan. Suddenly, Melanie's voice rose in shock. Oh my God, Jerry, it was you. You orchestrated everything from the beginning. I just shared an innocent fantasy with you, and you manipulated me into acting on it. You deceived me into thinking I could get away with an affair. Melanie, you're exaggerating. I didn't make you do anything against your will. I merely provided you with the opportunity. And no, I didn't tell Adam about your lover. I simply set things up so they'd unfold as I wanted. I trusted you, Gary. I thought you were my friend. Gary chuckled. You know what they say, all's fair in love and war. You won't get away with this. I'll make sure Adam knows what you did. You're a schemer. I'm sorry, Melanie, but I have plans with Adam tonight. I'll block your number after we hang up. You're despicable. Meanwhile, Jerry welcomed her fiancé home with a kiss. Adam mentioned receiving a letter from Melanie. Really? Jerry replied casually. I almost forgot about her. What'd she want? Adam glanced at Jerry neutrally. She claims you orchestrated everything to break us up. Pretty wild, huh? Jerry took a look at the letter and smirked. Poor Melanie. She could have made her little jealousy act more convincing if she signed it good friend. It took him a while to stop laughing.